Radio V. Radio in TV. Radio in TV.
And welcome you back to the Expert DoJo show again, where we talk about startup only. That's it. Entrepreneurship.
That's it?
Nothing else.
Nothing else?
Just me here with Donnie, who's just gonna. What are you gonna do, Donnie?
I'm gonna just butt myself in and talk about poignant things. How was your Thanksgiving?
Right. Well, I kind of did it the Irish way.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I made. See, my missus was out of town, so normally there'd be something nice there. But you see, we never quite learned how to cook. No, because here's what happens in Ireland, right? This is what not to do in a startup.
Okay.
Is our mammies take care of us till a very late age in life.
Okay.
So we don't actually have to learn how to cook or anything else. So the only things we pretty much learn how to cook are fried eggs, good at fried eggs, and really that's it. Really, just fried eggs, right? So
and how to boil a potato,
so
right?
I said to my little boy, I said, look, here's what we're gonna do. I said, here's some fried eggs, and I want you to pretend this is turkey, and then I want you to thank me for it. So
Okay,
I had a good Thanksgiving.
So when he's in
Thanks.
therapy,
I
I never had turkey and gravy. I had fried eggs, and my father said, "Happy Thanksgiving."
What do you mean when he's in therapy? The thing is costing me a fucking fortune. Okay, so and also, hey, I want to bring Bill in as well. I want to introduce Bill. And
Hey,
talk
Bill.
a little
Hey.
bit about
What's
Bill,
going on, guys?
what Bill is doing. And actually, this is a real treat. I'll tell you why it's a real treat, because a lot of the time we're talking about stuff that's happening in America.
Yes.
And actually, it could be argued, especially if we're from Texas, that there is nothing outside America, like there is no other place. However, actually, on a very serious level,
Yes.
America ranks very poorly in startup against a
does.
lot of other countries. And there's countries out there like Israel, and there's countries out there like, and actually Norway, would you believe it as well?
Sure.
But
Big one.
also Canada.
And we all know the
kick
reason
ass.
why.
Why?
Because the government.
No, because it's dark 24 hours of the day. They got nothing to
Nothing
do.
better
Because
to
the
do. Nothing better
Bill,
to do.
right? The government does help.
We do.
Oh, this is Canada. Okay,
We
no,
do.
I was,
No, it helps in Norway. It helps in Israel. It helps
Yeah.
in all those countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we're not up there at the top 10,
yeah,
because we are such a capitalistic. It's a cutthroat here. We all help each other until we can either steal their ideas or take their money.
yeah. Okay.
No, but you're actually talking about a lot of economic development. And that's so when we're talking about subsidies, so-called, it's really about where do you want to put the money for jobs. So it's all about job creation. And now young people don't want to be, they're not going to be trained as welders. They're not going to be trained. They're going to be want to do a startup. And it's actually, as you know, this becomes more or less like a lifestyle. So I'm in a startup. But now how do you take that and spend that money in a way that's going to be effective? So I'm a executive in residence at a startup called Wavefront, at an accelerator called Wavefront up in Vancouver. We've got about 30 companies go through there every year. And we look at it that this is a way, you take a kid and you take their ideas and you actually run them through some structured formats, but not the whole lean, the way that you're going to want to be bringing these guys into something that's going to say, hey, what are some fundamentals that are going to help you succeed?
Well, what do you think is the big difference, the way that we do it here in the States versus what they do it in Canada?
Well,
Well, I think
Donnie always wants to bring it back to his size issue, and it's not always that, but it would be good to know.
Well, I think the biggest thing is we don't take equity. So I think as soon as you take equity, now you're starting to have a different relationship with these companies.
You don't take it at all.
We don't. Well, not that you don't take it anywhere in Canada. You do have startup, or you do have accelerators that take that equity. But
Because
Wavefront,
down
we
here,
don't.
everybody takes
Everybody
equity, right?
takes it, and
Well,
suddenly,
TPs, yeah.
suddenly you're in a different kind of relationship. So when I go in and I'm mentoring these guys, it's really about, I'm not trying to make them hit their numbers. I'm trying to actually let them do what they're trying to accomplish, and I'm trying to find a way to help them do that, as opposed to saying, hey, when do I get my money back? I'm only gonna, you're sitting there looking at a bullet in the head, because if you don't make your numbers by the end of the quarter or by the end of the year.
So what kind of success metrics do you have in Canada? And how is it, like, to Donnie's first question, like, if you take Canada as a whole, and how you take in startups and what you do with them and their success levels.
Yeah.
How do you see it differently to be here? And this is an uncensored show, by the way. So we just insist on honesty. Like, if you believe that, because so here's the challenge with an interview like this, and this is true with you, right? Canadians are very nice people.
Too nice, yeah. So there's the primary issue about why we would. So one of the things I do, I was down in an OC for 8 years. So my contacts and networks are down here. That's where I met these guys, where I met you, Brian, is bringing companies down here. Because although we can nurture them and get them to a certain point, at some juncture, you do want to bring them onto the big stage. So to your point, we do want to get them down to, and typically it's down to the valley. But we've got Silicon Beach now, which is where you guys are, and we want to get them down and expose them to the big time. But to get them up to that point, we're going to nurture them. We're going to try and help them out with, and it's not that no one's cutting checks for these guys. We're just making it a little bit easier. So something we've got is there's a shred. So that's a tax credit where 60% of your development that's going into innovation can be. Actually, the government cuts you a check at the end of the year. But you have to qualify for that. And then in our case, we get subsidized for just providing these kids mentorship and some access to technology and a co-working space. So you're really just trying to make it a little bit easier for them to get started, as opposed to, again, down here. The way I look at it is that there's a party going on in the valley. And there's the velvet rope. So how can I get into that party? So I'm all standing on the outside, and I think I want to get into that party. I get into that party, and I find out, well, it's not much of a party. That if I'm not from Stanford, if I'm not from Harvard, if I'm not the young white kid or the gray-haired, the old white guy, I'm not going to get through that side anyway. So
you get it.
So how
already?
All right, we're done. Let's wrap up the
show.
show.
So good.
That is actually, you summarized startup.
That's the whole thing,
But I'm telling you, if we're looking at deal flow and we're trying to get companies, this is the other thing I'm trying to do, is let's get some investors coming up to Canada that can take advantage of this. So first off, you got the Canadian peso. So it's like, 70 cents, 75 cents. You've got anywhere between 40 and 60% of your development costs can be not written off, but certainly you've got a discount on that. Now you're getting, and then you've got other areas where you've got a deal flow coming out of the universities, going into a start or an accelerator like Wavefront, and then to me, it's about risk mitigation. So I'm kind of mitigate that risk of 90% of these companies failing, which 9 of the 10 are going to fail anyway. But
in Canada, the same as here? Or you find it slightly better? In Israel, it was amazing. Like when I did an interview with a guy with the 8200 in Israel, they had 93 companies go through their accelerator, and they had 75 of those companies still trading 5 years later.
5 years, that's pretty good.
It's pretty amazing.
So
right?
answer the question.
Yeah.
How many?
Don't be skimming around the edges.
And I got a bullshit button right over here.
We want to know.
Well, no, I mean,
and then tell us if we can go up there to get grants.
Well,
that would be fun.
Don't steal my thunder. Because I work with several companies. What do I have to do to get one of my companies to go up to Vancouver, open up a shop there, and start working?
There you go. Just the entity needs to be registered in Canada, and then you need to have a majority of the ownership being Canadian. And so you can
and that would be through investors or through
however it's structured. So as long as over 50% is Canadian, and you'll get a sliding scale.
I'm Canadian.
You'll get a sliding scale. But this is the kind of thing.
What do you mean you're Canadian?
I am today.
From this point forward, I just became Canadian. But we're trying to bring investors up because it's something that, where are you going to go find these deals? Again, you got the party up in the valley. You've got that sort of thing starting here. We've got just as good, the technology is the same, as good as world class. We've got companies like Hootsuite. We've got these companies coming out, but we don't have that. The niceness that we're missing is they don't want to write checks. So you won't find the Canadian investor leading. So the Canadian angel or the Canadian, if there's somebody there that's going to lead, there's money there that'll come in, whether it's private equity, whether it's VCs, but they're not going to be that risk takers.
Right.
But you're going to, so again, we look at it, mitigate the risk, get these companies, so let them fail in that first year where they're in the accelerator, and then if they can get out of that, then we're in a situation where now they've got some traction. Hopefully they validated their product in the marketplace. They got a little bit of revenue perhaps, and now we can put the rocket fuel in. That's where we're not going to get we're not going to get that rocket fuel out of Canada.
Right. Wow. So
no, hey, listen.
It's cold up there, though.
You guys almost stopped talking.
No.
Cold.
No, because you know what? It's also you got me thinking as well. Because so if we take it down here, we have a very specific process that we go through with taking startups through, and the venture funding is the central part of what makes it work and what makes it doesn't work, right? So everybody just has venture funding right there at the beginning. Yep. So kind of what I'm hearing from you is a very core element to actually starting up a business in Canada is scaling the business in Canada by necessity, because you don't have a choice, because you don't have the venture up there. Yep. And because of that, does that mean that you have stronger businesses up there? Can you give us some success stories or maybe some startups that have come through Canada? Well, and I don't mean billion-dollar companies, just like scaling size, because that would seem to me, by necessity, look, it's always easier if somebody gives you a couple of $1 million in a check. But if you don't get it and it forces you to create a great company with great foundations and great revenue streams, that's okay.
But that should be the goal of every company. Right? Management team, right? Number one, product. Obviously, what does it solve? What are you making? What are you doing? What's the problem? Let's find a way to fix this problem. And then management team.
No, it's brilliant. And it's really funny. I got a client, and they're beautiful people. These people are geniuses, right? They're MIT people, and they may be listening to this, which is why I'm saying really, really nice things about them. But they go to a hackathon. They go to a hackathon in Vegas. They invent this brilliant product. They find a team in the hackathon. Friday morning, they're going to the hackathon. Sunday afternoon, they've built a product. Monday, they're going to Bain Capital with their new team. What the fuck? Like, no, that's not your new team. This is like marrying somebody in Starbucks.
That's right.
Damn. And this is good. And I think we're coming up to our break now. This is the Expert Dojo Show. You got Donnie here. You got Bill here. You got Brian here. And in case you're wondering why the hell we're talking about Canada, we're talking about it so that we can learn about startup. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
What's that all about?
It's my new pro.
This is Quick Fix Radio.
Quick Fix Radio.
Yeah. Check it out, y'all. We back in the building. What's going on?
Yes, sir. What it do? We got some super special guests up in the place,
in the building, we got all 5 live in the building. Bone Thugs in the building. Everybody.
We up in here
tonight, y'all. What's going on?
Hey man, I had to come see what this TV radio what this all about. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
We got Game on the line. Game, what's going down, baby?
What up? What up, man?
What's going on? Oh man, we got EPO Dylan. Who's this on the phone with us?
Yo, what up, man? It's Akon.
Akon in the building. Who is this on the line?
Be Real.
We got Be Real. Who is we got on the line?
This Ty Dolla $ign right here.
What up, Ty Dolla $ign in the building. Thanks to all the fans for stopping by.
The Quick Fix with Crazy Bone, right here on Radio V.
Welcome back to the Expert Dojo Show. You got Bill here representing Canada. And you got Donnie here representing Jersey.
Representing New Jersey. And
I don't know what the hell I'm representing.
ConnectToAll.com. I'll give my company a break. I never give my company a mention. Donn at connect2all.com is my email. Donn with 2 N's.
Yeah, and we will be censoring that out at the end of the show.
We're live streaming, dude.
We will be going back to the future. No, we won't. We're talking today. We're actually talking today about startup, but we're trying to compare other countries to see if we can get any good lessons. So, number one lesson that we've got in the first portion is, if you are a little bit Canadian, preferably 50%, or if you can get a partner in Canada, there are amazing grants in Canada. A lot of the time, we're just looking for seed money down here, or we're looking for startup money, and there are these phenomenal grants all over the world. I know companies who have raised up to $200,000-$300,000 in grants. Yes, that is money that you never have to pay back, and we friggin' love that, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but because it gives you breathing room. It gives you it gives you a good start on building what you need to be successful. And if you have the right product, like we were alluding to before the break, and the right management team, and you're able to have the right mentorship behind you, you can do some wonderful things if you have money in the bank, instead of worrying about how you keep your lights on and how to attract talented people.
Yeah.
So that seems to be a lot in our little corner of the world here at Silicon Beach. We find a lot of brilliant people with brilliant ideas, and a little naive on some of the way they think, but the hardships of getting in front of those angels, and when those angels, they put you through the ringer and these accelerators here. I know there are a lot different incubators and accelerators here than they are in Canada. Yeah. Here they're.
How are they different? Are they different? Like,
yes,
how are they different?
Because I'll tell you how.
Are you like Canadian all of a sudden? Are you?
Not with that accent.
I love Boxer Day, and your Thanksgiving was second Monday of October, right?
Freaking October.
Yeah,
I know.
Because that's the harvest time in Canada. I love Canadians. I love maple syrup. And
back bacon.
Our Thanksgiving in Ireland is like normally 5 o'clock in the evening. That's when the bars open.
Exactly.
Because here, notoriously, the accelerators and incubators here will give you $100,000, $150,000 to get your idea off the ground. Will then put you in a box where you have to use their programmers and their people and their development people, and they'll charge you top price. They're not going to charge like where you can make your own deal for $45 an hour. They'll charge $150 an hour because it's their money and it's their people.
It's a pyramid scheme.
It is. And then when you run out of money, because you eventually do when you're paying retail, then they go, hey, okay, we'll give you some more money and we'll just cut off another piece of your company.
Yeah, I get it. So you mean that's why somebody would pay $250,000 for an app on a phone rather than $10,000?
There you go.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, because they got some of that accelerator incubator. They made it through .com. I don't get sued by anyone because they all deny this too. They say, well, the reason that you're paying top dollar is because we have vetted these people and they're the best people. They're going to save you money and time. Right. It's all bullshit. Where's my button?
It's true. And I love the way you put on the voice, like I do as well. It's like, and there was a time.
With what you can do with today's software and things that are available, you don't need $20 million to build a thing like you did back in my day when I first started this thing.
No, and what did you say in the first place, which is come up with some kind of what problem are you solving? What can you actually get a customer? Will someone, these guys come in and they've got all this hoopla, the tech and all that sort of thing. Start with a whiteboard. Put a little X on the whiteboard and say, that X is where somebody pays you money for what you've got. Now, let's work back from there. But everything that you're doing should go through the filter of how are you going to get to that little X. That's not even the raising the money. That's not who's my development team. It's like I need to validate this thing out in the marketplace someplace. And that's kind of where our approach, I'm not saying it's the best approach. I'm not saying our approach is the best for everybody. But from the perspective of saying how am I going to nurture as many of these as possible and let them fail or survive on their own, you give them money, you put all this pressure. You give them, you put them down a track where their options are limited, and they haven't taken the time to validate it in the marketplace. Now you're almost guaranteed to have them either fail or they're just in the grill, or they're just grist for the mill. They're just going round and round and round, and you're spitting them out.
How do you do product fit? So when you're doing like product fit or market validation, whatever way we phrased it, like how do you normally structure that for a startup?
Well, what we do is it's on those startups, right? So we do what we call market validation training, 3 days of training, and it's just frameworks. But one of the things is to get out of the office. It's the Steve Blank thing. Get out of the office, go out and talk to potential customers. Have an MVP, but your MVP, I mean, it's not the product that you're going to go to market with. It's to give somebody an idea of, are you willing to pay for this? Or is there some way, like if I build this thing or if I expand this thing, are you going to give me some money for that? Start exploring that business model. Can I actually, and I think if you haven't got that baked and you're going to raise money, one, you're going to have a hard time, or the other, you're going to be dragged into wherever that guy with the money wants to take you. And that's, I think, one of the major problems that we're talking about here. But when we say the market validation, you've got to go and actually engage with customers, and you've got to find, is this something that is actually going to someone's going to pay for? So when you ask how, you've got either technology, you've got, you're on the phone, you're
hey, Mom, hey, listen.
Put an order.
Just about.
Could you put an order in for me?
Well, but I mean, for what? Like, if
Yeah.
Mom puts an order in, okay, so who's after Mom? Because Mom's your friends and family, right? Everybody likes you. Yeah, we want Johnny to be able, he's out of school now, doesn't really have many prospects. Let's help him he's got this idea for a startup. But once it gets beyond that, and you'll end up at those angels at some point, and the VCs and the rest of them, potentially. But what if you actually had a product that people paid for? What if you actually had some revenue? I mean, what a concept.
Yeah, that'll never catch on.
Speaking of the
Yeah, we never want to go there.
Speaking of revenue, in Canada, what do you think about market share versus revenue? Because we're in a market share frenzy again, because we looked at
Twitter. Look what's happening to
Brian
Twitter
and I
right
were talking
now.
about valuations
Again.
of all these
Dying.
different companies, and I was there for the first go round of this. Which is
we
why
were
I
there
got back
too.
into this thing this time around.
You're gonna know how this works.
Look, history will repeat itself, and we will always do the same stupid shit over and over again. And I see the valuations of some of these companies, like and the book with the thing with the face on it.
Did you just say WeWork?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that, did I?
You said
It sounded like WeWork to me.
Subconsciously, you know what? That wasn't even in my mind consciously, but subconsciously, did you see what their valuation is?
Is it 10 billion?
Yeah.
10 billion.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing for a property company
Exactly.
with no revenue. Oh no, they have revenue, but
So anyway, so I come from that world of when it was all market share and people were getting acquired. I think we were talking earlier outside about a company called GeoCities that gave away free websites that had a huge market share, never earned a dime because they were for free. But Yahoo bought them for, oh my God, and they just absorbed it into there because they had market share.
Yeah. So what's the old joke? 1 million people go into a bar in Silicon Valley. Nobody buys anything. It's declared a success.
Yes.
Okay. So what have you accomplished? What have you accomplished at the end of that? Is again a bubble market and again the club. Who's in the club? And if you look a little bit behind that, you find a little bit further this. I give money and I pay those developers and I've created this marketplace and then I brought in other investors and then at the end of it, it's all a financial play. Are we talking about financial play or are we talking about companies that we're trying to support and trying to make those into real companies?
So back to my original question. In Canada, how much is market share play versus revenue? Or do you play the market share game?
Well, no, because what's the market share of what? You're going to have to end up back down in the States because the market share of a Canadian market share is not going to be big enough for anyone to be really interested or to be where, okay, this guy's a unicorn or this guy's creating a bubble. You get revenue, you grow, and then you move on to the big stage. Even the Israeli companies are going to do the same thing.
They do the same thing.
They're going to come to, but the thing is, and
they validate first. Their validation actually is selling product. I'm trying to get to it. Yeah.
And is it a different valuation model that they use in Canada versus out here? Because
there's no smoke. They can't blow that smoke.
Okay.
I mean,
they can't say, well, we got 500,000 downloads, so that means that there are potential customers. It's free right now.
Man. Even if all the downloads are from Ahmed.
But I mean, because they use the analyticals to now say, well, look at this, we've captured this audience, and we're going to somehow get revenue from this, be either selling the data or actually giving a product that we're going to charge for.
I mean, there's nothing more brutal than a Vancouver angel. You're at these guys asking for $25K. Oh, I don't like your monetization model. Oh, I don't like. I mean,
a Vancouver
an angel. Is it?
That's like, I'm sorry, that's like a Silicon Valley VC.
Yeah.
No, but it's interesting because you see these angels down here, even the angels down here have a bunch of money. It's not always their money, but they have a bunch of money. And if they don't have a bunch of money, then they hang out with a bunch of people who have a bunch of money. So there's a general overriding feeling that they're talking in the billions, right? But you've probably got a guy up in, there's some very wealthy people, I'm sure, in Canada. This is coming from an Irish perspective, right? But I'm sure there's a guy who's going, I've only got 25K, okay? Listen, for you to get this 25K from this pocket,
here's my hoop.
You're going to have to work really hard.
Really hard.
This is not going to be a business plan based on, we're gonna see if we can scale and we're gonna build a team and we're gonna get there. I mean, you have to
show me some traction.
I like this.
Yeah.
I actually like this. I think there's a lot to be, and I have to say, look, for me, for Expert Dojo on a very personal level, this thing in Silicon Beach in America is messed up, but it's messed up for us, the startup. It's not that it's messed up for anyone else. The VCs do okay and the angels do okay. It's a fair game. They've worked out the numbers. It's like Vegas. They know how it's coming through the door. As long as people keep on playing, they're going to make money. But for the startups, this sucks because 90% of us, 99% of us are going to fail. And we're going to keep on failing. And nobody's incentivized to make it fairer or better for us. While I think if we understood more, just think about it. If we're starting a company and we were going into work for somebody else, not our own company, but we're starting in somebody else's company, we would never walk in those doors and think, let's just see how it goes. We'll just play it by ear. Maybe we'll take on a couple of people. I met a couple of guys in Starbucks. That's my board, right? We're going to see if we can really make this thing. We wouldn't. We would have... We were very programmed when we go into those doors to do things right. Hey, if I'm going to do something in marketing, I'm going to have 4 people. I'm going to make sure I have the right experiences.
Well, I'm going to balance it.
I like this.
Yeah, and that's the balance. Now, the challenge, though, is when you do get a good company that is ready for some investment, you're still faced with that, pushing down the valuation. I can only give you... And so you find that these companies, they start getting traction and they just can't quite scale. So a lot of their time and effort and focus is on just getting that next check, getting that next little bit of revenue. Whereas if you feel that... And again, that's the balance. If you give them millions of dollars, that changes the whole scheme of the thing, where you're now, I don't have to work so hard. Maybe I don't have to be so tight. But on the other hand, if I don't have enough... it's gonna die. So those are the balances that we're trying to.
Essentially, what we're doing is we're losing our whole United States audience because everyone's gonna frickin' move to Canada.
Yeah, but this is great though. Because this takes like lessons. So we've just got a minute or so left in the segment, but this is giving us really important lessons. Imagine if we have the money and we can take the lessons to make us become really strong and learn about the revenue.
That's what we need.
And then use the money we have.
This is what I do in my consulting business.
You sleep in your consulting business.
No, I do not. I work my ass off for my clients. I save them money because they don't do stupid shit. I've been there and I've done that. Everything he's saying is just, this is the way you do business.
Somewhat common sense.
Yeah, it's all
somewhat common sense. But these guys have never experienced that.
No, a lot
so
of
it's not
especially
common sense to them.
And they're not encouraged to either because they see movies and the movies encourage them that actually all you have to do is
Greed
just
is good.
Up.
One of the things that you do,
one
of the things that you do, with Expert Dojo is you put the mentoring program together and you have guys like me and people like,
it's true,
come in and we give advice right off the bat. Just tell me what you're doing and how you're doing it. And we say, well, maybe not this way. Maybe you should do this, that, and the other thing.
And it's straight advice, like it's not BS.
No.
And actually, leave that BS advice. It's not advice which is dependent on people getting business. Like the advice that you give to people is based on their success. Like you'll just say, listen, I don't care about you and me or anything else. All I care about is that you understand that this is how I feel about this particular problem.
But that's very different from the norm out here, and you're doing something that's going against the grain. And and now you got a co-working space where you're not charging anybody. And everyone's scratching their head.
I'm a beautiful man, and that brings me actually, as we're getting to the end of the segment, I want to bring you to my Irish blessing of the day. Are you ready for this?
Oh my God!
I was looking for an Irish blessing of the day, and as I was getting to it, I saw there was a thing about what's the difference between God and Bono.
Okay.
And it says, God doesn't walk around the streets of Dublin thinking he's Bono. So I liked that. It wasn't my blessing.
That's not a blessing.
That's a good one.
My blessing is,
yes,
as you slide down the banister of life, make all the splinters be in your direction.
There you go. Okay.
I thought it was very applicable to startup, right?
Very much so.
You know, it's usually going up the banister. It's an uphill battle. So as you climb that banister, 1 inch at a time, hopefully the splinters are facing that way. Oh, wow.
I have that vision.
That was kind of
that vision.
Yeah,
of a splinter.
I had to think about that.
As we go into our commercial break. Guys, we will see you. This is Expert DoJo and a seal signing out, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
We got the DoJo thing going here, man. We got the.
Hi, I'm Moby, and you're watching T Radio V.
Yo, what's up, everybody out there? This is Crazy Bone.
I am the bum Keith G.
And right now you watching TRadioV.com.
TV and radio.
Yes. Radio and TV.
Oh, yeah. See? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rob Hubel from Welcome to the Jungle. You're watching T Radio V, aren't you? Radio on TV. Terrible idea.
In TV.
You shut up. Use that one.
Hi, I'm Sheriff John Bonnell. You're watching T Radio. Radio and TV? What? Perfect. Why are you asking me to do this after 12 drinks?
Hi, we're Marissa and Juliana Stove, the Stove Twins, and you're watching T Radio V. That's radio in TV.
Hi, I'm Moby, and you're watching T Radio V.
Hey, what's up? This is Josh Vietti, and you're watching T Radio V.
Hi, this is Casey Abrams from American Idol, and you are watching T Radio V. That was too corny. I loved it.
Hey, what's up? I am Scott.
And I am Ken. We are not the Chemical Brothers, but we are the Crystal Method. And you are watching T Radio V.
Hey, I'm Dean Kane, and you are watching T Radio V. I'm watching it too. Right now. Seriously. Perfect.
And we are coming back again to the Expert Dojo Hour, where we're talking about startups, we're talking about success, we're talking about just all kinds of crap, actually. Hey, Donnie, can I lead in? This is good. I want to come back in the last segment and really I want you just to be sucking this all in for this segment and thinking of, and add any comments you want, but just tell us in the last segment, what is it as a startup from a Canadian perspective that you feel is going to help an American startup? But not the last segment, okay? So you got a couple of minutes to think about it. In this one, we're going to talk about our favorite thing, right? We're going to talk about failure, miserable failure.
Okay.
And I want to lead it out with Twitter, if I can.
Oh, sure.
Only because Twitter as a platform, obviously are lauded about as the greatest platform ever as far as an investment perspective. Now, even though there is no monetization model, they have a lot of users, 30, 40, 50 million users, right? So a bunch of users. But they've faced a problem. The share prices have fallen recently, and that's down to something which affects most businesses. They don't actually make any money, nor have they any real prospect, according to a lot of the pundits that are out there, of being able to make the money that they need to be a sustainable business model. What do you think?
Well, I never rule anyone out that has that kind of market share. You know, they have to obviously come up with something that's going to bring some money in, and it doesn't have to be a whole lot at the beginning. It just has to get a foot in the door somehow. You know, a model that works with maybe a YouTube type model that they pay for, when they get all the different people on there all the time. There's millionaires that are making money off of doing basketball stunts and stuff like that, and they have far less on the're network. They gotta have to come up with some kind of monetization model, and with that kind of valuation, that they have from even with the hit, I'm sure there's going to be something coming down the line. They're not going to just go away.
No, it's big though. But it is interesting.
Unless they find someone like Facebook to acquire them. You know, that's the new model. We don't do IPOs anymore. We do acquisitions.
Absolutely.
And which is a great thing for these companies that are smoke and mirrors and have high, market share. They don't have really real prospects for money.
It's true. But it's really interesting when you look at these things. And I have this great site for any of you out there. It's called alltopsy.io, which is a fantastic name, right? Now, in Alltopsy, they rate the reasons why startups fail. So you get these companies and they just say, "Hey, we kind of suck." But I love some of the reasons. What it does is it takes the startup, the idea, the reason for failure, and then it goes into the full story, right? So we're not going to hit with the full story. But I thought the reason for failure is really good. I'll just read out a few of them, like overestimated machine learning and underestimated acquiring users.
Wow.
This is a great one, though, isn't it? It's like you can imagine these 4 little scientists who are there just working for 2 years building this great product, and then nobody. There's just like this nothingness.
That's what academia is for.
Crickets.
What about this one? What about this one? This is good. Lack of problem solution fit. No real team. Too much of a god complex. No, I'm guessing this is not written by the CEO.
They're not saying what kind of companies they are?
Oh, yeah, they are. Okay, so the first one was called Lumos, which was machine learning-enabled smart electric switches, right? The second one was Rate My Speech, which was improve public speaking skills. Good point, Donnie. Thanks, bud. Okay, let me hit you with the next one. Reward Me, loyalty platform for restaurants and retailers. What do you think? Let's play. What do you think their failure reason was?
They didn't know anyone in the restaurant business, so they were not expert.
You're right, actually. No, very true. Premature scaling and founder misalignment.
That sounds like there should be a pill for that. Premature scaling.
Boom.
That's
Startup Agra. Yes. What about and then U Design is the next one, which is create and buy beautiful patented women's clothes. We didn't stick to our original version, and actually, let spending get out of control, and that's a lot, right? On a serious level, we see that a lot, right? They pivot and pivot and pivot and pivot, which is this lean startup problem.
Well, one of the problems in the garment industry, especially if you're doing small batches, is the cost factor. I come from a garment family. My
couldn't tell.
No, in the schmata business.
Schmata.
Yeah, my grandfather owned a dress factory in Brooklyn. And my uncle and my cousin owned a jeans factory in El Paso, made in USA with all Mexican labor, but made in USA nevertheless. So when you're starting out in the fashion industry or especially some kind of patented process deal, the upfront costs are crazy unless you can produce 10,000 pieces, 50,000. There's price breaks so long, and then you got to get a factor. You got to be really well funded to start a line in clothing, really well funded up front. You got to, so there's a lot of these people go in there, they don't know the industry.
That's the problem.
They don't know the industry they're getting into. And, with that social media site, which is what the restaurant thing was, a social media play, those are the hardest ones to get off the ground because people's attention spans are so short and there's so many things coming at them all at one time. It's like balls to the face. You don't know what, it's all out there. I can't tell you, how many people come up to you with some kind of brand new idea.
Seriously, if I get another, there's 2 of them. There's my 2 favorites, right? If I get another idea for
Uber for
Uber for but then and the other one is I've come up with this really big problem that campuses have, which is getting the food from the main gate to the dorm room. It's like you and the other 4 million people who are on campuses, right? Everybody's doing it. The other really good one is, it's really hard for us college kids on campus to connect with each other. I think we need a network. And it's like, well, you have Facebook. And they go, well, what if we're not friends? And I'm going, maybe you're just unpopular. maybe that's it, right?
Yeah.
Unpopular.com.
Unpopular.com.
But actually, to your point, what about the next one? Okay, next one before we hit the break is WhatsApp for customer service. Wrong approach and totally wrong target market. Boom. Boom, right? If we could drop the mic, we would be dropping the mic. And this is Expert DoJo signing out for our other segment. And the last segment is our best because we are going to be getting the best tips and tricks on what a startup should do, both here in America, coming from the Canadian.
What did you play opposite Andy, Eric? Do you remember?
Andy and I worked as two employees at a network.
Okay. Oh, you're forgetting the other thing.
I played a news anchor, and he played a reporter.
Okay, but the other thing you did, the thing you did on the Andy Dick show, who did you play to Andy?
Oh, is that going to play my sister?
You played his wife, Denise.
Yeah.
Yeah, you played his wife.
Yeah. So what's wrong with that, Eliza?
Nothing's wrong with it.
He's got a great range as an actor.
Yeah, it just was funny.
Encounters with Eric and Eliza Roberts, Wednesdays from 2 to 4 p.m. on T Radio V.
Andy D on T Radio V. Bing, bang, bing, boom, right?
Yeah.
Andy D on T Radio V. Bobbity, bibbity, bobbity, boo. Andy D on T Radio V.
The Andy Dick Show, Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. on T Radio V.
Wow!
But we'll do it. We'll do it better when the show actually starts.
Yeah, Hey, hello, this is David Faustino, and you are watching T Radio V. Do you see what I'm saying? It's television crossed with radio. It's all together. It's weird. Radio's in the middle of it. It's amazing. You're watching it. Go.
Love and marriage, love and marriage.
Hey, my fellow thoughters out there. I'm Charles Shaughnessy. Check out my new show, Here's a Thought, with Charles Shaughnessy, August the 7th, 3 p.m. PST, right here on T Radio V. Now, you know I have a lot to say, but I want to hear what you have to say. So tune in, grab your phones, call me, tweet me, email me in the studio, and let's get this conversation going. Here's a Thought, starting August the 7th, 3 p.m. PST, right here on T Radio V. That's radio in TV.
Welcome back to the Expert Dojo
The guy
show.
in the shorts. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Guys, this is like our moment.
You know,
This is it. This was like our final segment moment to come in, and we led it with the guy in the shorts.
Well,
I was like, this is the end of one of those jokes. And then she said, so listen, so we're going to be talking, we've been
if I call
talking.
Bill Bob by mistake, it's because it's been brought up. There is a resemblance to Bob Eubanks.
No.
Really?
Michael Landon, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He says, yeah.
I thought you were going to say Bob Geldof. Okay. I thought,
No. But
what?
No one knows where this conversation
I
comes
know.
from.
But
it always goes.
He opened with shorts, and then it just was in my face.
By the way, it always opens in a terrible
so,
time.
Okay, we're not going to get down to brass tacks here. We're going to get down to the nitty-gritty. You're going to teach us Americans. God, you can teach us Americans.
No, give us some really, like, from our perspective, this is all about success within startup. That's all we want to get here, right? Just hit us with a couple of things. Firstly, what are the really great things about Canada that we should know about? Because they may help us. There may be Americans down here who are thinking, hey, you know what? Shit, I'm going to go up there and partner with somebody and try and go for a grant and everything else. And secondly, and not just the grants, but also the institutional stuff.
Well,
and mainly the grants. And then secondly, what are the really good things, like especially focusing on the revenue? Well, like, what type of things do you see startups doing to be successful in getting revenue and getting traction that possibly we could take some tips down here?
So one of the things is when you're talking about why would you come up there? So we touched on a couple of things before, which one of them was about the tax credits that you can get for innovative development. The other is that you've got a development bank that will give you a loan or take a warrant on your company. So this early stage, this seed money, as you talked about it before, you just get a little bit longer of a runway. We've got opportunities to get, and it's always a co-funding. So the company has to pay 40, 50, 60%, but you can get 40, 50, 60, 40% that a grant will pay for a marketing, for a UI UX design. So those kind of things. So you can get those little things that are always that you need to get clarity on whether your app or your product is going to actually fit.
But does that money all have to be spent in Canada? Can you
no,
outsource
not necessarily.
To
yes,
India like they're doing here, or into the States? Like you can have an ownership up there.
No, but that's cool. Like it doesn't even matter because if you've got a head tech guy here and they've got a couple of people over in India, you just pay the guy in Canada. Like that's cool.
Yeah,
if
and
we can get that money in Canada. That's
That's
awesome.
that was my question.
But
Does
if
it have to be spent in Canada?
It will be spent in Canada. You're talking about who's the resources, though. Who's going to actually do the work? And,
Right.
And it is a job creation. So that's what you're trying to do.
Okay.
That's why the government would pay. But think about it. You've got the time zone. You're in the same time zone. You've got the language. You've got the education. You've got the skill set. And the Canadian peso, 75 cents on the dollar. So how much are you really gaining even if you go offshore? And so, but you really look at it as a blend. You can get world-class development, you can get world-class product people, you can get world-class industry people, and you can build your company up there, and you can still do offshore.
Okay, so there's no
you've got
there's not
other-
restrictions, or there
what-
are.
Well, with that money, you're gonna spend that on the resources in Canada. That's why you would be able to. So just think about it: 25-30%.
Give the guy a break. Listen, it's the Canadian government.
I understand that,
But no, he's asking, "Am I give you $100,000? Can you go spend it in the Ukraine?"
No, he
If I
actually
give you
wants to
100,
bring
can
it to Jersey.
No, but if it's a Canadian company, and it's
Right.
all Canadian taxes, Canadian revenue that if you have a
Right.
successful company, you got to pay the taxes to Canada.
Right.
Can you, when in developing your product, your service, or whatever, can you outsource to India, Ukraine, like we do here? That's my question.
Right, and of course the company can do that, but you're not going to use the money from the Canadian government to do that.
No.
You're going to free up money by getting that tax money or that tax credit. You're going to free up other funds that you would have had to go and spend.
There you go.
So that's how
there
you
you go.
balance
That's
it.
how you do it. All right. Was that a wrong question to ask?
No, this is some
not at all.
clarity.
Let's go.
And this is the
Okay.
thing when you've got companies down there or investors and they don't quite get it. Oh, okay, where do I get the money and all that? It's all baked. When you get there, people know how to do this.
Yeah.
It's all very normal and straightforward, and it's just a matter of coming and understanding it and taking advantage of
The
it.
point is, you're saying you've got partners who will immediately step up
Absolutely.
to try and support the Canadian companies, which is
Absolutely.
alien to us.
Okay, well, I'm
right?
sorry
Absolutely.
for interrupting you. You were on a roll, but that just
No,
hit
no.
me in the head.
And they will help you do this shred. They'll help you get this IRAP money. I mean, you need your acronym decoder ring or the app that's going to tell you what all this stuff means. But essentially, there's very simple ways to go and get these boosters, if you will,
Okay.
to help you become more successful. Then we'd look at the infrastructure around what we call the BC Acceleration Network, which is funded through the provincial government. So these guys. BC is very much in natural resources, oil, gas, mining, all that. That's all going away as far as the hard going and ripping down trees and digging holes. But the tech to apply to that is moving. There's incredible opportunities for that. Clean tech, there's incredible opportunities. We were going to go, their big push, the provincial government was on liquefied natural gas. They got beat up on some regulatory stuff, didn't happen as quickly. They're pouring money into tech. So if you've got either technology or you've got the ability, investment, there's all different ways that you can play in that network and that ecosystem to be able to build companies and to be able to build your your business, because all the consulting that you're doing, all of the, we've talked about this, Brian, about having these Canadian companies want to be able to come down here. They still need to come to the biggest market.
Right.
They still need to be able to come to the biggest opportunities, which
is
are down
why
here.
which is why we're partnering.
Exactly.
Right? So actually, just on a side, we partnered because we want to make sure that American companies have got access to Canada and learn all this stuff. And within Expert DoJo, we only want to have partners who own their market. And Bill has done exactly the same thing down here, because there are times when his startups, when it comes down here, and they don't want to come down like a stranger. They want to come down when they got friends in house. So it's important. Yeah.
No, it's important, and to have the flow back and forth. All of these things. This is what. Also, when we talk about social networks, we talk about social networks among investors, among the startups, among the way that we do business. We've opened that up with this technology as well. So that's something else that we really want to take advantage of, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm here. And we want to look at these, and maybe subsequent times we go into it a little more depth. We look at a certain specific way that an opportunity that a American investor or an American company can take advantage of Canada, and we just walk through the model and let people understand.
Could
how
you
that
do
could work.
you got the partnering with Expert DoJo on that level? Is there partnership with technology? Like, say there's some technology here in the U.S.
Oh, absolutely.
To partner with a company that.
Yes.
And we're in the last 30 seconds, so just like this better be good.
Well, it flew by. It flew by. Hopefully somebody learned something, and that's all we want to do. We just want to teach. We just want.
No,
we just want to.
I swear to you, there's somebody out there
Yes.
who's right now on the internet just looking up Canada. Where the hell is Canada? I want to be there. We have got 10 seconds
Where
left.
the hell is Canada?
You might be an Irish guy. We've got 5 seconds left. Take us home, Bill. Expert Dojo, last word to you.
Okay, we're there to help you make your company successful. We want to partner with you. We want to be your buddies, and we're easy to get along with. And there's more bacon than you could possibly
What's
come
the
across
deal with that
anywhere
back
else.
bacon?
You can't
It's
ask
good
any more
stuff.
questions.
It's over,
It's
man.
done. This is the Expert Dojo show. Thank you, everybody, for being here. From myself, from the beautiful Donnie, from the marvelous Bill. It has been our pleasure serving you, wonderful startup people, and stay creative.
There you go.
You are watching T Radio V, Radio and TV.